Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Today it is my absolute pleasure to bring you a review of the Ohuhu Halawa oil-based colored pencils. Now, Ohuhu did reach out to me and offered to send me a set to review up on the channel, and of course I said yes, because here they are. And we thought it would be a really good idea to compare these to the Prismacolor pencils in today's video. So that is going to be the focus of today. We're going to review these and see how they match up to the Prismacolor pencils. Are they worth it? Are they the same? What differences do they have in their color range, their blending, their pigmentation, and their price? So we're going to go through that thoroughly all today. So this is the box that we received unopened. It's in a nice tin, and we've got a 72 pack here. So on the cover, we've got light, fast, and waterproof, richly saturated pigments, which gets me really excited. Soft and thick lead, eco-friendly natural base wood, easy blending and coloring for artists. Now let's flip it over and see what we have on the back. So we have all of our colors and my big fingerprint down there. So all of the colors, and just looking at it straight off the bat, it looks like we have a really even amount of color distribution here, which I absolutely love, especially in these oranges and reds, which is going to be so fun. Alrighty, let's have a look. Okay, so we open up our tin here, and as usual, Ohuhu have provided their color swatch chart, which I will be using in today's video. And I really like this because it might be a bit hard to tell on the camera just in terms of comparison and size, but if you just look at it, the size of my hand, it's a nice size. And the swatching area isn't too large, so I'm not going to be using a huge amount of pencil to be going through and swatching, which will be nice. So I'm really happy about that. And that card, it's not like this huge bit of cardboard either. It's nice and it's more papery, which is cool. And then we have our user manuals. I really enjoy the way that Ohuhu package their products and the materials that they provide to you. They're very thorough. So in terms of our features, so we've got light, fast, and waterproof. So all base colored pencils that are light, fast, and waterproof, perfect for creating long-lasting artwork. These pencils feature vibrant colors with high saturation. Craft from natural cedar wood, these pencils are safe, eco-friendly, and comfortable to hold. And I know that pencils being comfortable to hold is really important for a lot of people, especially if you have issues with your hands, whether it's an injury, whether it's arthritis issues. So I do know that it's very important. So we'll see how these go. I'm hoping that they're going to be great. Perfect for artists and drawing enthusiasts, offering seamless blending and coloring. So some tips: these colored pencils use soft lead, so slight chipping during drawing is normal, and I feel like that's normal for the Prismacolors as well. And of course, if you encounter any issues, you can contact them. So this colored pencils has passed the TRA toxicity assessment. If you experience any allergic reactions, look out, consult your doctor. Don't be swallowing your pencils, guys. Don't be eating your pencils. Keep them out of reach of children and out of reach of little creatures that like to jump up on your desk. So here are our pencils here. Oh, I just like this. So nice. So let's have a look at, I'm just going to pull out this one here. So this is the peach. So we've got the gold writing, Hello Ohuhu, and we've got the closed over end as well, which I like those type of pencils. For me, it's aesthetic only, but I really like them. And peach, so the name and the number next to it, which is actually quite similar to the way that Polychromos do their pencils, in terms of they have the color on one side and then the label on the other, and the rumors as well. So I'm already noticing a lot of similarities with the Prismas in terms of the color range, especially the reds and the yellows as well. And I'm already looking at these two, and I'm looking at cobalt turquoise, aquas, and light aquas as well. So I'm already seeing that we have some that are very similar, and then we have our greens, our browns, and our greys, and a couple of our pastel colors, which I'm very excited about. I'm thinking some skin tones would be nice with these, in addition to the others. So if we have a look at the lead, Lead comes nice and flat. So I will be sharpening these before I color with them. So I'll be very excited to swatch these today and not only compare the colors and compare all the other sciencey bits, but I also like to compare the names and to see what different types of names different brands come up with. Some have very similar names, some have very different names indeed. So it's just another little quip that I like, I suppose. So just comparing the actual shapes. So the Prismacolors are a little bit longer, but as soon as I sharpen that, so this is a brand new pencil, as soon as I sharpen it, that's gonna go down a little bit. The Prismas just have the writing on the one side. I feel like, might be a bit hard to tell, but the Ohuhus are a little bit thicker. I actually have, and I've got an Inktense with me here, so not as thick as the Inktense, but not as thin as the Prismacolors either. So sometimes that's important to people. So if you do like to know the dimensions of the pencils, hopefully that can help you. So a bit of information on these. So the 72 vivid colors come with soft oil-based core, which we know, and deliver consistent, rich pigmentation with effortless application, perfect for achieving vibrant results, which is the goal of today. Creamy, high pigment formula enables smooth shading and blending without smudging or pigment separation, which will also be a huge win. These pencil cores are 4mm. And they're ultra bonded, which means that they are more durable for long-term use without frequent sharpening, and I'll definitely be testing that out today. And the core should be soft enough to be able to glide across like the Prismas do and do some creamy blending. So I will be sharpening mine, but you don't have to. It does have a nice edge to it, so you could just jump in and start using it straight away if you want to. And in terms of the color organization, the things that I do like about the any 72 set is they're really easy to organize and store. So you don't have to be getting huge pencil cases like you would a 150 set or even a 120 set. I find the 72 are just nice and compact, and they're there, they are what they are. They're here to get the job done, and you can create a lot of extra different colors by just blending them together. So I'm hoping that we can do that today. And these also pair very well with alcohol markers, acrylic markers, and watercolor. So one thing that I do like to do, and I've just been getting into is over the past few months, is applying a light layer of pencils over my alcohol markers for shading. It's just a fun way to color and is a little bit different than the norm. So if I have a page that's a single-sided book, I'll often use alcohol markers and then go over the top with pencil. So you can do that with these, and according to my notes, you can do that with watercolor, and you can also do that with acrylic markers as well. Because you can use them with mixed media, that means that you can apply them to a lot more projects than simply pencil only projects, which is great. Okay, so in today's video, like I said before, we're going to compare the blending, the pigmentation, so the vibrancy, and the color range. So on Ohuhu's website, you can purchase these for $44.99 USD, or if you're purchasing in Australian dollars, that's $78. So that works out to be about $1.08 per pencil if you're buying open stock. Now the Prismacolors range from, for one pencil open stock can range from about $2.20 on the cheaper side, and probably upwards of about $3.50 on the more expensive side. Now, when I'm talking about $3.50, I'm more talking about your very small boutique art shops that naturally do have a higher price per item just because their overheads are a little bit more than your average large retailer like Officeworks, for example. And so today, what we're gonna do is I'm going to set myself a bit of a coloring challenge. And let me show you the coloring book that we're gonna do. I've been very intentional about the illustrator, and I've been very intentional about the book and the image that I've picked. So what we're going to do today is we're going to colour in Worlds of Wonder by Johanna Basford. And the page I have chosen today is this very large circle of flowers with the houses above it. Now I've chosen this because these flowers are quite large, and so there's a lot of opportunity for blending and burnishing, and I'm actually going to do it with the Ohuhus and the Prismacolor in the same picture. And then we're going to go back and see if we can actually tell the difference. And there are some opportunities for some light layering as well. So in between the flowers, I'm going to do some light layering with some darker colors. So I'm going to see how that works out. So even with the layering, I could do like the background, I could do one half one pencil and the other half another brand. And then for a bit of the architecture as well, just to see how they go. So I have been very intentional with this. I do want bigger elements because I want to see how the blending and the burnishing compares. I will be, after we've swatched everything, we're going to chat through that. And I've also chosen this book because the paper works really well, and I'm quite familiar with this paper. I trust Johanna's paper, and I know how my Prismacolors perform. So if there's any huge differences, it's going to stick out to me really prominently, I think, because coloring in these books is just second nature with the Prismacolors. So I'm looking forward to bringing the Ohuhus in on the mix today. Alrighty, so what we're going to do, I'm going to sharpen them. Purely that's because it's my preference. I like to have a very sharp tip when I swatch and color. But again, you could just jump in straight away and use those if you want to. You don't have to sharpen them, but I'm just purely going to do it for my own. It's just my own preference. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to swatch them out, and I'm going to hold them up against my Prismacolor pencils and just do a bit of a color analysis by eye and see what we've got, what's the same, what's missing. And then I'm going to do some blending, and then we're going to jump into our coloring book. Alrighty, so here is our swatch chart completed. And straight off the bat, just looking at it, I can see that we've got many, many reds and oranges that just to my eye are looking very much like the Prismacolors, and even these blues here. So this rich green blue, azure blue, and celadon, that reminds me of a combination. And we've got a few browns that are quite similar. We've got a few muted greens, but what is standing out to me, what is very different, is these couple of greens here. So down the bottom, there's lettuce green, light green, Bermuda, peppermint, and dark jade. Probably peppermint, and we'll have a look at a minute. We'll do a bit of a comparison. We'll have a look. But yeah, there's just some different greens, which I think would actually be good if you wanted to add this set in, the Ohuhu set in to the Prismacolors if you already have them, and you can have some different greens. And lots of different pastel colors over here. So I'm even thinking some of these would make really nice light layers for skin tones. They've named their grays, so different from the traditional cold grey 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, warm grey 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. We've just gone with different names. So we've got silverfish, and then French grey, and then just pale brown, grey, different names. So this looks like a very unique blend of the warm greys and the French greys in the Prismas. So not a lot of cool greys. The gold actually looks quite similar to the Polychromos gold and not at all like the Prismacolor gold. It's actually quite a nice one. This silver, I think most pencil sets that have a silver in there, it just reminds me of a lead pencil, and so I tend just to not choose it for anything. But I think overall, looking at the color selection, it looks fairly balanced, and certainly compared to what I'm used to seeing in the color palette and the color selections that I own of pencils. The only thing that I don't really see, and it could be just due to the fact that it's a 72 pack and not higher, is just a really, I suppose, darker colors. So we don't have any burgundy or maroon. We don't have any, like, apart from the ultramarine, that's as dark as the blue goes. Arguably, you could add in some grays to combat that. I had a bit of a giggle at the seagull blue names. Caca, caca. I don't think I've ever seen a seagull that color, but you know, maybe they exist. Yeah, but super vibrant pigments, I will say as well, especially in the reds and especially in the yellows. These are very, very similar to the Prismas in how they lay down and how they feel. And same with the browns too. Majority were. Probably this pink up here is very different. And same with the lavender as well. This pink actually feels like the neon pink when you apply it. It feels like it's just got a bit of a different pigment and recipe to the rest, but I'm not quite sure what the actual go is. So let's compare it to Prismas side by side. Okay, so this is my swatch sheet, my handwritten swatch sheet of Prismas that I have. I just put it in color wheel order, really. And what I want to have a look at is over here. So straight off, I can see so many of these yellows and reds matching. So this desert yellow looks like deco yellow to me, which I think is a very important color. So that deco yellow is a frequent of mine. I'm assuming this is light lemon yellow. This is L lemon yellow, which looks like lemon. This lemon yellow looks like canary. Dark cadmium, it's either a match between Spanish orange and sunburst yellow. Yellow brown looks very similar to yellow ochre up here. Saffron looks very similar to yellow to orange. Apricot red is like a darker version of salmon pink, which is down here. And bright tangerine looks very similar to orange. Now this is just with my eye. Sometimes it can appear a little bit different on camera. And then if we look over at the reds, same thing. We've got very similar tones, very similar hues. The darkest red that we actually go is the Ohuhu's carmine color, which looks very similar to crimson or even Scarlet Lake. So I'm not seeing any darker reds like the Tuscan red or any maroons, like I was saying, but I'm sure you could actually make it with a bit of color theory and color mixing. I'm sure that would be fine. And just looking at some of the purples as well. So this lavender looks very similar to amethyst, which is up here. If we're looking over here at the violets, we've got some similarities here too. These mid-tone blues, again, very similar. So I'm quite confident that I can come up with some colors today that will match in both in my little color comparison challenge. And even to the rich green blue, azure blue, celadon, bang on there, cobalt, aquamarine, light aqua, and that's a color combination that I use quite frequently. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to the color combinations that we know and love with Prismacolor. I think we can achieve with the Ohuhus and with the greens. So Prismacolor has a lot of muted greens, so just down here, a lot of muted greens, a lot of yellowy greens, and we notice that with the Ohuhus, we've got a lot of these brighter greens, like the light green, the Bermuda up the top here. Peppermint is almost could say peppermint's a match for true green, couldn't you? Dark jade green is like a mix between true green and grass green almost. And you could say the same for the foliage green over here. And we've still got a bit of muted greens in here too. We just don't have much of, say, like your sap green, light, Kelly green, etc. But we're going to have some differences with color palettes, especially because with the Prismas, it's over double. So I think Ohuhu's done a really good job at actually having a good array of colors, matching the Prismacolor set, even though it's literally, it's less than half the amount of colors. The only thing I don't really see is the cool grays on the side, like I said, but I'm wondering if you could almost balance that up with a little bit of blue if you wanted to make that. And because these are oil-based, the Ohuhus, I don't have that waxy sheen that I sometimes get when I apply my Prismas way too hard. All right, so now what I want to do, considering that we have, I'm going to swatch a couple out. So we'll just have a look at the vibrancy. We'll just have a look at how the blend works before we apply everything to a coloring book. Okay, so I'm going to blend these two combinations here. So we've got the Ohuhu on the right and the Prisma on the left, and you can tell that I use my yellows and my oranges. I love these colors. They're very smooth. So let's do the Ohuhus first. So I'm going to start with the bright tangerine. And I'm just going to do the usual. Yep. And I will mention too that while I was swatching those on that card, they have very similar characteristics to the Prismacolors in the way that they lay down. So I did feel quite familiar with them, even though it's a different brand. I felt like I knew them already, if that makes sense. Yes, sometimes you pick up a new set of pencils and it's just so different to what you're used to, you kind of get thrown off a bit. Not with these. Okay, so that's the Ohuhu. And now for the Prisma. The Prismacolor do just feel that slightly bit more creamier, but not by much. And I think because they're a wax-based pencil as well, there's going to be differences anyway. But I feel like these are potentially, if you want to have a continuum spectrum thing, and you've got you've got Prismacolor on one side and you've got polychromos on the other, these Ohuhus are probably a dead ringer middle, I would say. Probably leaning more towards the Prismas. Okay. To me, they're very, very similar in vibrancy and pigmentation, very similar. Just looking at it, I can see that even though, so the Prismacolor are burnished more, the Ohuhus I have a smoother blend. I can clearly see I can see the lines just to my naked eye anyway. But over here I can't as much, even though I can see pencil strokes and it's not fully burnished in this area. It was easier to burnish there. This is a more even blend, which is interesting, which that could just be a total coincidence. Maybe I just blended that better. We're going to use the whole coloring page to actually see how that pans out. I do want to now compare some of the blues. All right, so again, I feel like I've had a very similar result to the ones over here in the orange and yellow combination. So even though this is a lot more creamier, this side feels a lot smoother in terms of color blending, just to my eye, especially when with the last two colors. So you can see a very distinct line there, whereas here it's blended a little bit better. So I still feel the same as I did on that side, which is good because you want consistency with your colors. So sometimes in the Prismas, some of the colors, depending on what it is, are a bit inconsistent. So I find that the oranges, yellows, and reds in the Prismas are very creamy. And most of the blues are too, most of them, just not that electric blue. And I think sometimes the cobalt blue hue, sometimes not so much, but these performed exactly the same, which is good. I think that's what you want in a set of pencils. You don't want to be having certain colors in the naughty corner like I do with my Prussian green and my electric blue. So I'm very happy with that. So now what we're going to do is apply the same testing and whatnot to this color page here, and we'll see how we end up performing. But what I feel like I want to do, especially with the row of houses up here, is to have one side Prisma and the other side Ohuhu. That's just my plan. We'll see how it actually ends up going, especially because these flowers, you can't really just cut it down the middle because some of the flowers are just, so maybe it'd be like a, you know, a loose side over here and whatnot. And because just looking at the flowers, they're all different. So there's a couple which are quite similar. There's a couple of similar flowers. But what I'm going to do is, like I did with our comparison here, I'm going to try and go for colors that are an exact match so that we can have a true representation of how they work. I don't know if it's any point having completely different colors for everything, because all that we're going to really be looking at is comparing, say, an orange with a pink, and that's probably going to be a little bit harder to compare, isn't it? So I'm probably going to bring in some different mediums for the flower centers. So I might use some Ohuhu glitter markers or some gel pens, depending how it's turning out. But I do want to try and match the colors as best as possible so that every color that I apply in the Ohuhu range, I can also apply in the Prisma. There will be some I feel that I might not be able to, mainly in the pink range, but I definitely think by including some oranges and some yellow flowers that we will be able to have an exact match. And even I'll bring in some of the grays as well. I might bring in some of the grays and the browns up here for some shading. So we'll see if we can bring in and match as much as possible. So this will be a sped up time lapse for you. I will leave all the colors in the description if you would like to follow along after the video is complete. And we're going to discuss everything at the end and see what we reckon. We will talk about the final verdict. Okay. Wow. I honestly, it is my honest opinion that I am looking at this page and I honestly cannot tell. I honestly can't decide which I like better. I am looking at a couple of the flowers and I know what's Prisma. I mean, I obviously do because I've done it, but the vibrancy on these, on all of these, is just as vibrant as the Prismas. And the blending, it looks like this, to me, this looks like it was done with one set of pencils, but it was done with two, and it was done with one oil-based and one wax-based pencil. I'm actually so surprised that an oil-based pencil can perform so similarly to a wax-based pencil, because I know sometimes it's like comparing apples and oranges really, but they perform so similarly. Yeah, so what I've tried to do, I've done my usual blend and burnish just so we can really focus on the vibrancy and how smooth the Ohuhus can perform. And I've also done a little bit of layering as well on the houses up here. I've tried to go for a layered and then burnish over the top approach just to see how they perform, and they were excellent. I almost feel, so this side was Ohuhu, then I switched to Prismacolor. I almost prefer, in terms of layering and then burnishing, I almost prefer the Ohuhus. I'm actually happier with the Ohuhu result on the building walls, because this one's Prismacolor and it's a little bit scratchy. This one is too. It's a little bit scratchy, but these are performing so well. And even down here, when I've gone green and I've just blended it outwards and then started some bricks here, these work so well, guys. I'm actually so impressed. I knew that when I was swatching them out that they would be good, but I am blown away. I honestly cannot tell the difference. And I don't know if you can see, but above, I've tried to do just a little bit of a subtle blue just to hint that there's sky. And behind here, behind the flowers, I've just done some greenery just to balance the page a little bit because we have a lot of red and yellow and orange going on. I'm so happy. So I went, I don't know if you were able to see in that time lapse, because sometimes it can be a little bit difficult, but I kind of went that way. So like that side was Prisma and this side was Ohuhu. And just look at, like, honestly, there is no difference. I don't know if you can tell, but I certainly cannot tell by looking at it. Again, I would think that it is one pencil brand. What I do like about the Ohuhus is that when you're blending, and I noticed this straight away when I moved from the Ohuhus to the Prismas, they're not as thick. So even though I was doing the same technique, I was blending and burnishing for all of these flowers, the Ohuhus aren't as thick, so I felt like I could just apply more layers and I didn't have this waxy buildup that you can get with wax-based pencils, and it is kind of inevitable. Now, I've just gone ahead and finished all of the flowers off with some Ohuhu glitter markers. So if you're interested in those, you can grab those as well. So the Ohuhu glitter markers were not part of this review, but I decided to use them anyway because we've got had some big bold outlines. And even, let's look at this flower here. The blending of the colors goes so well to almost create new colors when you blend them. I definitely would say that these 100% have very much an ultra smooth, creamy blending capability, 100%. I'm really happy with these. I am looking forward to coloring more books with these. I'll be very interested to try the pencils on other paper. So they work really well on Johanna Basford paper. For me, these are 100% on par with the Prismacolors. And I think, again, just looking at the prices, even though I've got the 150 set of Prismas, you can buy a 72 pack of Prismacolor pencils for $165 Australian. You're going to be paying half that for the Ohuhus. So the Ohuhus, like I said, that's $78 for the 72 pack. So you're going to pay half the price. So if you are wanting to get into an ultra vibrant pencil such as these, and you're not sure if you should make the switch to Prismacolors yet, I would highly recommend trying the Ohuhus out because you're going to get just as much vibrancy. Yes, again, these are oil-based pencils. However, that their characteristics are so similar to the Prismacolors that I'd highly recommend you try them. Maybe as well, you're in a region where you can't actually get the Prismacolor pencils. Maybe the Ohuhus for you are going to be the best alternative that you can get. So I will definitely say that I really enjoyed coloring this page. I certainly, sometimes with coloring pages, if they're just taking forever, I start to feel impatient. I don't know if you start to feel like that sometimes, but I'll get impatient and I just can't wait for it to be finished. I just had an absolute whale of a time coloring this page. I was really happy with it. I just took my time. I enjoyed every minute, and I certainly didn't have like a problem with like wax and everything going everywhere. I use the yellows quite a bit, yeah. So you would think that I would wear them down so much more because I'm sharpening all the time, but look at, there's actually not much of a difference. So look at how, so these two colors I haven't used compared to the ones that I have. And usually I would say for the Prismacolors, you're probably gonna be about down here, maybe a bit more. But again, probably because wax versus oil. So I don't know if that's a wax versus oil-based pencil thing, or whether these are just a little bit more durable and you don't have to sharpen them as much. I didn't have any cracked cores in these, which were good. They were a little bit crumbly in spots, but certainly nothing that I'm not used to. And I think because I press quite hard anyway when I'm blending and burnishing, it's probably just going to happen. So I will leave all the details down in the description when I have those. If they're not there yet at the time of this video, they will be there. So again, if you're in the US, the price for these is $44.99 and $78 Australian. They are available on the Ohuhu website and also on Amazon if you're willing to check those out. So if for some reason, if there's any supply issues on the website, or if they don't send to your country on the website, go to Amazon because they have a storefront there. If you're interested, you can search Ohuhu Colored Pencils across all platforms and they should come up for you. Like I said, I will have a coupon code below which you can use. So if you're interested in seeing how these Ohuhu pencils perform against other brands, I would highly recommend checking out Karen from My Colourful Country Life. She has a comparison video on the polychromos, which polychromos are an oil-based pencil, so that is a very interesting comparison as well. She also has swatch charts for all the Ohuhu pencils sets. She also has comparison charts for the Prismacolors and the polychromos as well. So I'd highly recommend checking out Karen's video if you're interested in seeing how the polychromos work with the Ohuhus or how they compare. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. If you have any questions about these pencils whatsoever, let me know in the comments below. I'll do my best to find out for you. I will leave all the color combinations below. If you would like a super detailed walkthrough of this page with everything listed, my techniques, my thought process, all of that, let me know in the comments and I can do a separate walkthrough video. I'm more than happy to do that. I've got all the color combinations listed. Thank you so much for joining me in today's review. Again, you can look at all the Ohuhu details below. Thank you so much to Ohuhu for sending me these beautiful pencils. I'm blown away. I can't wait to use them again. Have a great day, guys. I will see you in the next video very shortly. Bye-bye.